All right. Hey, Billie. I wanted to
Mhm.
say thank you so much for showing up. And thank you
Hi.
for wanting to share some of your life with us,
I'm
right?
excited to be here. I'm so excited.
So am I. So, as you know, that Monique's Healing Lounge is in the business of helping people, trying to focus more on self-care, self-love, their mental health. Um, and just by learning from others, other people's examples will hopefully benefit somebody along the way. So, I thank you for that. And hopefully someone will learn something and be
Thank
able
you for
to
the
use
space.
it. You're
Thank you for
welcome.
the space. I love that.
So, let's start off. Tell me a little about yourself. Who's Billie?
Right. Hi. Okay, so I'm Billie. I'm a mother of one son, and I am embarking on this new phase in my life. I am the founder of Gracious Elevation, and it is an inclusive wellness space. And the mission and the goal and all of those things are to affirm a lifestyle of wellness and self care.
Right.
Um, I enjoy, living in my own lane. And now, just with this new phase, I'm all about curating an experience. I just want to create a space that I didn't have growing up. And yeah, I have all types of goals. I want to be the reason someone feels welcomed, someone feels seen and heard, valued and supported, and I want to be a part of the journey and the transformation. So, this life coaching thing, I'm a life coach and a wellness coach and a mentor and a professional friend and all of those things. And I love it here. I love it here.
That is great. So I didn't even know about your career path, and it definitely seems to be aligned with mine. So that's
Yeah,
awesome,
it's that
right?
energetic connection.
Yes, yes. Hey, so tell me, when did you so I'm going to be taking a little bit of notes now, especially since I'm finding out that our career paths are very similar, right? We're going to be
Okay.
helping each other out along the way. So thank you for sharing that. Tell me a little about your self-care journey. When did that start?
My self-care journey. It started very recently, honestly, if I'm being transparent. I don't so just to back up a little bit, I don't think that I was taught self-care like growing up. I was taught, keep your hair done and go get your nails done and iron your clothes. But as I've grown up, that to me just translates to vanity. The self-care that I'm experiencing now, I'm fairly new into it. And it started, I want to say like last year. Um,
Okay.
I started looking for words like healing. I started looking for words like help. I started asking for help. I started creating boundaries and just researching all these things of why I was feeling, how I was feeling, and how I was going to get from how I'm feeling to how I want to feel. And so my journey looks a lot like guiltless rest, right? Like, because I used to rest and sleep, but I used to feel guilty that I was sleeping or resting. And now it's a part of my self care routine. If my body is tired, I rest. I don't feel any type of way about it. Um, and it looks like one thought at a time, one day at a time, one task
Mhm.
at a time. That's legit what it looks like. It's all about giving yourself grace. It's all about now for me, I'm just coming into being prepared, right? Like that is really a part of self care that no one ever tells you about. But the amount of anxiety that's off your shoulders when you are prepared or you feel prepared, that's just another part of that journey. Once I mastered, saying no and setting healthy boundaries, which was a part of the beginning of the self care journey. So it just looks a lot like grace. It looks a lot like, one thing at a time, and um, just not wasting time.
Right. Okay. You said a lot. And I can definitely appreciate that. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that self-care is as little as that, right? When people hear self-care, they think, oh, I'm going to get my hair done, my nails done, spa. But in reality, it's those little things that you mentioned, telling people no, creating healthy boundaries, um, just taking it one day at a time. I speak a lot about baby steps,
Mm.
right? They baby people don't realize, especially when you're feeling really hard on yourself, and it's like you didn't get to where you wanted to be today, but you took that step. You took that step to get there, and that's progress, right? That's self-care. That's self-care. So tell me, like about a year ago, you said that you started this journey. What prompted you to do that? What were you looking for, or what weren't you looking for? What were you running away from? Or, that what does that process look like for you?
So I equate self-care with healing. And so a year ago, I was in need of a lot of healing. And I joined the gym. I joined the gym. Well, first, I'm lying. I actually saw a therapist. I started seeing a therapist, and it was good. It was it was good. I knew that I needed it after the first session, and I gave her like 2 hours of just a dumping ground. But
Hmm.
then fast forward 6 months later, after the therapist, I still was feeling very heavy, and I didn't feel like I felt progress, but I didn't feel lighter per se. I just was talking to somebody at that point. I just had a therapist. I wasn't doing anything extra, just talk therapy. And then I joined the gym, and I started to address the physical. And that brought me to a place where I could actually start thinking about what I required to thrive. It's crazy how that happened. How
Tell
I
us about it.
It's just it's crazy when and I didn't have any kind of weight loss goal or anything like that. I didn't take any before pictures. I don't have any early. Legit, my only goal was to say I'm gonna do something and do it. Like that was the first step of my self-care journey, is to stop procrastinating, say I'm gonna do something, stick with it, get a sketch, and then it just progressed from there. It became routine, right? Like I started the year off saying, okay, I am not going to procrastinate. I'm going to commit. And then it became preparedness, right? Like, let me make sure I have all my gym stuff, all my meal prepping things, and things like that. So once I started mastering a little bit of things, I was able to then work on my form, making sure that I was actually doing the exercise correctly. And then I started working with a group of women, because now I think I know what I'm talking about. And so now I'm attracting other people who want to work with me, which also kind of catapulted this dream of mentoring and life coaching, because there was some type of something, light, magic, whatever you call it,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
people gravitated to, and it helped me. It was my form of therapy, but it was also people seeing it and wanted to. How are you so committed? And it's like this is not motivation. This is discipline. This is in the schedule. And then I started saying those words like discipline, sustainable, right? Don't do anything if you can't sustain it. Those baby steps you just talked about, right? Just drinking your water. Those are celebrating your little wins, cheering yourself on. Those are all a part of the progress. I'm still in it. I'm still in it. I'm still celebrating those little wins. I'm still bouncing back. But the idea that I can bounce back is amazing, because I didn't fall off. I didn't fall off,
Right.
so it's pretty good. But the gym, it definitely cleared my mind. And then when I had a clearer mind, I started doing the hard work of setting like healthy boundaries. And I learned the importance of saying no. And actually, I learned it at the gym too, because I remember a person asking me to wait. Like I usually go at 5, and she wanted me to wait for her at 6. And so I waited, and I went at 6. And then she told me she couldn't come. You think I did that again? I
Right.
I said, if you want to work out with me, I go at 5. I could no
Right.
longer. That was like a clear example of where I had to put myself first and not feel guilty about it. And
Right.
me would have been just accommodating and compromising and just feeling all anxiety because she late and messing up my routine. And I had to get comfortable saying, yeah, I'm gonna be there at 5. I want you to come, but I'm gonna be there at 5. So
Right. 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 That's amazing. I mean, wow. I mean,
so
again,
prioritize yourself. I think that's like the best wrap up to that. Like prioritize yourself and do not feel guilty about that.
but so let's take someone who is feeling guilty, right? And then someone to say, don't feel guilty about that, right? We understood that it was a process that you took,
Mm-hmm.
right? And guys, I want you to listen to what she just said, that process, because it's a process. It's not something that you're just going to wake up overnight and say no and feel okay with it. It was a process. It was work that she was putting in knowingly and unknowingly to get to that place where she was comfortable with saying, sure, I want you to come, but this is the time that I'm going to be there, because you didn't want to keep putting yourself out there, wasting your time. Our time is very valuable. And we need people to understand that, right? So amazing, amazing. So let's shift it a little bit. Let's discuss how that self-care work with your mental health. How does that equate to you? Self-care and mental health.
Okay, so I'll just use the same example and I'll also touch on when you said the person feels guilty. Um, it ties into no one's a mind reader. I can't read your mind and you can't read my mind. And it's about being aware of how you feel in any given moment. So I was aware that I didn't like how I changed my schedule. I compromised my routine. I went the extra mile for someone and it wasn't considered, right? Like that wasn't considered. It just was kind of thrown away. So I realized that I had to know myself better, first of all, understand what made me thrive and what flourish and I needed to know what my needs were so that I could communicate that with people.
Mhm.
And then I had the responsibility of caring for myself. So once you take your responsibility back, everything flourishes because you are now responsible. So when I was depending on other people to, I don't know, read my mind and give me my needs, mental health was shot,
Mhm.
because they're not gonna rise up to that occasion. They don't know. Um, I started healing once I stopped pretending I wasn't hurting.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's a fact. That's
Like
the first step. That's the first step in any process, is realizing. Oh, why are you laughing? I mean, that's the first step in any process, realizing that you need help, right? Because when you're lying to yourself, you're trying to find a whole bunch of excuses. It's not helping you.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
not being real with yourself and opening up yourself to accept the change.
exactly that change right there, accepting that change. And so, which what we're talking about is very intentional. You have to know that a change is coming. You have to want a change. So you have to be intentional with the process, though. It just doesn't come out the sky when you wake up one morning. You're like, heal me. No, you actually have to intentionally seek healing, intentionally put self-care in your routine. So it's a skill if you're listening. Self-care is not something you're born with. It's not even something people could teach. I mean, they could teach you, but you have to practice it. It's a
Right.
skill. It's a learned skill. You got to make it
I
a
can't you
habit.
you have you sounding low.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Okay. So yes, it's a practice. It's something that you put in your routine. It's something that you get better and better and better at. And then next thing you know, you are just practicing self-care. You're not, you're just doing it. It
Right.
just, it's a part of your life. And then you look back and you're like, look how far I've come, right? Like that
Yeah.
feeling of
Yeah.
look how far I've come. That does everything great for your mental health.
Right. Excellent. And I like the word that you use, grace. I like grace. When I started therapy, man, it was so long ago. It was actually my very first therapist that I had. She always used to tell me, be kind to yourself, right? Allow yourself that space to mess up. And that kind of equates to me to the word grace, like allowing yourself that wiggle room. It's going to be okay.
Absolutely.
Right? Is that your definition as well? Do you want to expound on that?
It means all of that, right? It gives yourself that time, give yourself that, like you said, that the room to make a mistake. Allow yourself that's our space, yourself, like give yourself the space to be there for yourself with no judgment. Because who else
Right.
is going to be there for you with no judgment? So give yourself. I love grace. I feel like grace is that word alone has done wonders for my mental health because that guilt is no longer there because I've given myself space to know that I can do it tomorrow or I can do it later or I'm not perfect or I'm still practicing. So it's lighter, it's not as heavy when your criticism on yourself, like you said, talk kinder to yourself, right? Like what are we telling ourselves? Like that's a big thing. If you tell yourself, oh, I went to sleep and I should have done this and I should have done that, and oh my God, you're gonna feel that. But if
Exactly.
you went to sleep and you said, I worked all day, I took a nap, I'm good, you might feel a little lighter.
Exactly. 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 I 100% agree. I like that word.
I love
Um,
it. Yes.
so let's do a quick shift before we wrap it up. I know that you said growing up you weren't taught self-care, right? That's something that you've acquired along the way. So I recently was on a substance abuse, mental health webinar, and I learned that health providers are starting to assess children as young as 8 for anxiety,
Okay.
right? So let's think about, because I wasn't taught self care either. It was basically the same as what you said, like take care of yourself, make sure you bathe, do your hair, make sure your clothes are washed, clean up your room. I mean, it's a form of self care, but what we're discussing is it's a little different. Um, so, given the fact that healthcare professionals are starting to assess children as young as 8 for anxiety, I know you mentioned you have a son. What does that look like for him? Are you teaching him anything along the way? In respect to your journey?
Yes. So one of the things that I know I'm teaching him by just him watching. So I'm definitely being an example, but minus the example, I guess I'm not actually like teaching him how to meditate and do yoga and like those kinds of things, but I am teaching him how to, or validating or affirming rather is a better word, um, to love himself instead of the idea of other people loving him. I feel like at this age, with COVID and the lack of communication with the friends and all that big old space and all those voids, that that comparison or that loss of relation can do a number on children's self-esteem and their social skills and all of that
Mm,
thing. So definitely love yourself, instead of loving the idea of other people because it's hard to transition from being alone to being together and then back to being alone. And that's really tough. I also listen to him and I validate him and I empathize with him. Those are all my way, I guess, of affirming self-care in him. But I don't know a lot about the story you're speaking of, but I'm sure anxiety in kids is a big mental health problem. So I'm glad that this is a thing because it's important for me. I mean, I want to read the study. I want to know the signs, the symptoms, and how I can help and all of that, like all of that. I also teach them how to be selfish, you know. I know you're like,
Speak to that
uh,
because that was another quick question I had for you. Like people think that you focusing on yourself and loving yourself and putting yourself first is selfish. However, self-care and self-love is close, but there's a fine line. So how do you teach that to your son?
I'm okay with saying that self-care is selfish. Like
Tell me
I'm okay
about
with
that.
saying that. Because I feel like, so again, with the gym situation, in that moment I was selfless, which is what we're taught to be, selfless and accommodating and try to meet someone halfway, and even if you got to walk a little further than halfway, as long as you're there, selfless. That's that, be strong mentality. And I get that. That's what we were raised to be, selfless. I get that. In that moment, I was showing myself self-love by being selfish. I'm gonna be there at 5 o'clock. It doesn't work for me. So being selfless is not necessarily a bad thing, but I do feel like sometimes being selfish is self-love and self-care, and I don't equate that with negative. It
Mhm.
doesn't bring anything negative out of me.
And I'm glad that you said that because for me, the distinction is perception, like how you perceive it and how you interpret it. So that for me is the difference between being selfish and self-love and self-care. It's what is your intent behind it? You
Right.
know, right? You know if it's all about me. You know if it's negative. Like bump her or him, versus I'm showing up at 5 and you're welcome to come. You see the difference? Just the way that I just vocalize that to me is the difference,
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it can definitely be similar, but I think it's a lot of your intent behind it and how it's perceived to
Hmm.
people, to yourself, to whomever. So, yeah,
Because I feel like the person who didn't show up was selfish.
right, right, right. You're
Yeah.
right. I mean, it's like waited for you for a whole hour, right? And I could have been probably done with my workout by now, but
Exactly.
I was being kind enough to wait for you, and you just decided that no, we need more time.
And she was being selfish, probably in the spirit of her own self-care, right? And so I do things in the spirit of my self-care. I am not
Right,
judging that young lady for not coming. I'm pretty sure her intentions were to look out for herself. So you know
right.
what I learned?
What? What did you learn?
Look out for myself, for my own self-care. And again, selfish. So I feel like she was selfish, but in her own self-care, right? So when I say no, or when I say I don't want to come because I don't want to, that's good enough. That's good.
Right,
That's good enough. And that is something that I had to learn too, being comfortable with just no, I don't want to.
right,
No.
right. Because people are looking for a reason. They're not okay with you just saying no. What do you mean no? I need more. Why not?
Because I don't want to.
And you can say that and be okay with it.
I like to say it doesn't sit well with my spirit. That's what I usually like to say. But yes, I am comfortable because I have learned in my journey before this whole self-care, before these healthy boundaries came into play. I've gone places that I didn't feel comfortable. And now
Right,
I'm breathing heavy. I'm not showing up as my best self because I barely want to be there. And I realize that I'm only there out of what obligation. out of,
Right.
but I gotta put me first. It comes back to like when you're on that journey and when you're on, and it is a journey. It's not something that I'm still on it. Um, yeah, certain things like when I say I'm gonna do something, I value that sometimes more than I do my sleep. So that I'm there. I'm showing up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I value my word. I said I was gonna be there. But if I
Right.
didn't tell you I was gonna go and you just invited me, expecting me to come, I don't owe you that.
Right. 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 A
It's a
hundred
lot.
percent.
It is a lot. It's a lot.
100%. Um, so to wrap it up, tell me, I've been in this business. I mean, I've been in the business for a while, but officially launching my website, and there's much more to come. I'm just curious to know how, if any, is Monique's Healing Lounge helpful to you?
It's everything. First of all, you're just in the beginning stages and it's already empowering. Um, so I love to
Thank
go to
you.
your page and I love to watch your videos to see what I'm capable of. Like I am inspired. I always look forward to your discussion topics. Just your few questions that you had that legit um, encourages you to think and dig deep. I so when I go on your page, I feel like you're like almost like a partner. Like DM you my story, you're now invested, right? Like you wanna know the updates and that's a space. This is a space that people don't have, a safe space where there's a cheerleader on the other end that you don't
Right.
even know. That you don't
Right.
even know, but they are cheering you on to be your best self.
Right.
So 100%, I find that to be priceless information, priceless vibes. It's really an energy. It's an energy.
I'm a vibe.
You a vibe.
Vibe. I'm a vibe.
You're a
Love
vibe
it.
for sure.
I love it. Get a couple of emails here and there. I get a couple of text messages here and there. My following is not that big yet, but it feels so good to know that people are benefiting from this, right? I
Absolutely.
don't get as much feedback as I want because the more feedback I get, the more I'm energized to get to feed people. But just knowing that it's helpful, it definitely it makes my heart happy. You know what I'm saying? It really does.
Keep feeding the
So I
people.
appreciate. I'm
Keep
sorry.
feeding. Keep feeding the people. Keep feeding the people. Keep feeding our daughters. Keep feeding our mothers. Because I feel like even we touched on it a little bit. It's practice, and for our culture specifically, and but for all women, but for our culture specifically, um, it gets passed down and then it can become a part of our culture and it can be normalized. So it's things like this that needs to happen, more dialogue about self-love, about self-care, about taking us from self-hatred to self-care. That's a transition from where we are to where we want to be. So yes, please keep feeding us because imagine the change.
Yes, and that's what I want. That's what I want to see. I want to see people be better, do better. I
Yes,
want to see the generations just doing better and different outlook on things, different than how they were raised, possibly. Like it's a different world out there.
I read a
Um,
quote that said if all Black women started a self-care journey, we could heal a generation.
nice. Oh, that's so powerful.
Yeah. I thought it was
Yeah.
powerful. And it was interesting because when I first started and I sought out this life coaching thing, my mentor at the time had asked me, like, why do I want to do this? And I was like, if I could help a mother, I can help all of her children. And because it happens like that, just talking to you
Yes.
today, I'm helped. I feel good. I feel like this was everything that I needed it to be. So yeah, I thank you for sure.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, it was definitely my pleasure. I This is the first, but it definitely won't be the last.
No.
Um, so to wrap things up, I mean, you spoke a lot about your business in the beginning, and what would you like the world to know about Billie?
know about Billie? Well, I will say this. I will say this. The beauty and the growth and the transformation is the process. And I know y'all hear it all the time. Trust the process, trust the process, trust
It's
the
true.
process.
It's true.
Trust it. My goal, honestly, is just to empower all women, no matter where they are in life. Gracious elevation is to help the healing, what we're talking about, the transformation from a place of self-doubt to a place of feeling hope and confidence and
Yeah.
feeling empowered. I want that shift. I want that
Yes.
shift from regret to self-love, from being passive to assertive, from
Yes.
confusion to clarity, right? Like these are all
Yes.
things that I want to be a
Yes.
want to be a part of the shift.
Yes. Well, I can't wait. I cannot wait until you're out there. And, I'm definitely here to support you.
Thank
And we
you.
going to do this. We are
We're
going
gonna
to
do
do
this.
this.
We're doing
So,
it. We're doing
yes. Yes, we are. We are. Thank you so much. So,
Thank
um,
you.
we're going to wrap it up. I appreciate your time and thank you so much for your input and your experience.
Thank you for having me, Monique.
You're
Until next
welcome.
time.
Yes. Thank you,
Yeah.
Billy.
Bye.
Bye.